The thing is when you came in to interview, we had the police ready to come in and arrest you for stalking, but they were late. It was a snowstorm or something. No.
And welcome back to the Riley Black Project. Crystal and John.
Hey.
What's up?
Same old shit.
Yeah, not for me.
No?
No.
Oh, this is a really different one.
So
for you.
normally these episodes, you know our guests.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
I definitely know them more often.
Right,
than
and
you.
I'll have like almost like passing knowledge. Like either I saw them at like a holiday party or whatever, but I don't really
I've
like
said
or
something
or I see them on the post. This one's a little more personal. I know this person.
I know him.
We'll get into that whole backstory. So it's a little different. I'm a little nervous.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm being interviewed again. I'm in his office.
For your job.
I'm in his office. So our guest, well, no, we are brought to you today by, I almost
you're
forgot
already
Monarch.
fucking
yes.
up.
Yes, I almost forgot our sponsor. We are sponsored today by
Katie with Monarch Pine. She's giving all of our listeners 10% off with code Riley Black on her Etsy, monarchpine.etsy.com. That was like the smoothest one I've done yet.
Right? Because you're not worried about anything. You can sit. You're in my place. You can just sit back and like, if I have a question, I'll ask a question.
Right.
Today's guest, you might have come across his post because he kind of went viral.
Yeah,
lately.
like viral. Like
viral. So
8.2 million.
Yes. Welcome to the show. Now this is his vlog name. I'm not associated. I'm not calling.
Don't come for him.
Don't come for me. My buddy Greg of Fatman Little Trail. How's it going?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for being on. So
should I tell the story about?
Yes. First, you tell the story on how.
So I was scrolling on Instagram, as you know, that's what we do, and how we communicate.
Yes,
basically, we send each other reels, and I scroll partially for like ideas for like things to post, but usually it's just like my pastime when I'm trying to just veg from the day. So I was scrolling, and there was this reel with Greg. And it was funny because he was talking about, how it's been like 12 days without like peanut butter cups, basically.
Chocolate.
Yeah. But he mentioned peanut butter cups.
It was peanut butter cups.
Oh, peanut butter cups.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so he was talking about 12 days without peanut butter cups, and he can really see, the difference in his face because there was no joy. And it was really funny.
Yeah.
And so I sent it to you because I'm like, it's funny. And I just sent it to you, and I, keep scrolling, right?
Right.
So then later, you catch up on those reels.
It takes me a minute because she sends a lot.
So do you.
Yeah.
So you're catching up on all the reels I sent you, and you're like, you kind of show me the screen. You're like, did you send me this? Because it's Greg. And I was like, who's Greg? And you're like, my old boss.
Former boss.
Greg.
Now you know why I'm nervous.
Oh. Nope, sure didn't. Didn't know who he was. It was just funny.
So Greg was my boss when I worked in news in Colorado, and it's funny because prior to working there, we were doing long distance.
Yes.
And I had already made the decision moving up there
to make to make the move up there. But we wanted you to find a job first.
Obviously, that is the best way to go about it.
Right.
All the local news stations were you had to do the stuff online. There wasn't like a person to reach. And sadly for Greg, at that station there was a name and there was a person. So I proceeded to bombard him every week, every other week. I would send my resume.
Damn, every week or every other week?
In some form.
It was like once a month.
No, in some form or fashion. So I did the email. I did the sending it
snail mail.
Snail mailed it, yeah.
And then since I know the inside trick, I went to our secretary and got our station's letterhead.
And sent it that way.
Because I know that sometimes when it's like another station, they make sure it's priority and they put it in that person's desk.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if anything, at least this one this one's gonna make it to his desk.
Yeah.
So I did it, and I think in that one I wrote on the cover letter that I'm gonna be in town for like a week. I think it was when we were doing the 2-week trial to see or whatever.
To see if we still like each other for 2 weeks
Right, because we hadn't lived together. So I was like, I'm gonna be in town from this time to this. I would love to meet or this and that, whatever. Nothing. He didn't respond back to me. He didn't. Nothing. He never called me. He left me on red. Yeah, he left me on red. Yeah. And then so fast forward.
Right.
I'm in Colorado. Found a part-time job. I left with no TV job.
Yeah, you weren't even actually going. You didn't know if you wanted to get back into TV.
Well,
you were going to look into
I took it as
other
kind
stuff.
of like maybe this is an opportunity to change paths. You know, I haven't gotten anywhere, so I ended up working at Home Depot for a while.
Yeah,
and then
landscaping.
No, landscaping was while I was part-time at the station.
That's right.
My first job without anything was Home Depot.
True that.
So I worked there, and then I remember like it was yesterday. It was a Sunday. It was a Broncos game, so there was nothing going on at the store at all. I didn't understand that coming from Florida, that the whole city shuts down during a regular season football game.
Yeah.
So it was
football's life.
Yeah, it was dead. There was nothing going on. And I'm sitting there in the aisles like, what am I doing with my life?
Right. At Home Depot.
I have 11 at the time. I had 11 years in news.
Yep.
And here I am with this apron on,
telling people where to go for plumbing
not
supplies.
even because there was no one to tell.
Right, because they were all at home watching the game.
Yeah, I was looking at these vanities like, what am I doing here? So I put the call out on Facebook. A person of a person put me in contact. Fast forward again, I'm interviewing with who's going to be my direct boss, which is Corey. He we're vibing. He's loving me or whatever. And he's like, all right, cool. Let's go meet Greg. I'm like, I know Greg. I know Greg. So we get in his office. I'm sitting directly in front of Greg, and Corey's off to the side. And the first thing that Greg says to me is like, so you're John Aguila.
You're the one that sent all the resumes.
And I'm like, I responded with, I would hope that at least my last name would ring a bell by now.
Right.
And then I'm like, I've sent Greg and I told Corey, like, I've sent him my resume from when I was in Florida. Right. And he didn't respond. Yeah. And he's like, you know why? I'm like, yeah, because I was in Florida, but I told you I was coming. So, yeah, I don't know how much of that story you remember.
Well, did you never send him your resume when you were in Colorado?
No, because I was like, by that point,
he killed your spirit, and you weren't gonna.
Yeah, I'm leaving news. It's not meant to be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is when you came in to interview, we had the police ready to come in and arrest you for stalking, but they were late. It was a snowstorm or something. No. I mean, it all boiled down to like, I obviously thought you were a great candidate, but you lived in Florida, and I had plenty of, it's like, I'm not going to pay to move you. I mean, you're not that good, so I'll figure let Home Depot move you, and I'll take you after that. That's the way to do it.
I wasn't, but then my station moved me back to come back.
They did. Yeah. They did move you. Oh, that's right. They paid some of our relocation.
No, they paid all of it. Then we had to pay it back when I left after 5 months.
Oh, fuck, that's right. I forgot about that.
So you should have just stayed. You should have just stayed with us, John.
Had I stayed with you, you would have left because you left shortly after me.
Well, I didn't leave by choice. I was asked to leave. I was asked for the door. That was a very polite way for them to ask me to get out of there.
It wasn't even. It was a whole bunch of change. Because they changed ownership, a lot of change happened after. And I mean, even when I was leaving, it was during the buyouts, like when all that was being discussed, and I had that conversation with the station I was going to, because they were going to lose their Fox affiliate if that merger had went through. And I asked my boss there, I was like, hey, what's going to happen? And they already had a plan in place. They're like, nothing's going to change. We're going to add another hour of news. They already had a plan, and then they ended up not. That merger kind of broke up, but the Colorado station was, I don't know, because I was out of it at that point.
I just realized how similar news was to the oil and gas industry and how often there were buyouts and layoffs and management change, and then how like almost whole departments would be gone or like adjusted, and management was always first. So
well, and the cool thing about news that's different from, like some of the oil and gas jobs is that we made you work at like 2 a.m. until 10 a.m. every day and ruined like pretty much all of your sleep and made you miserable for a couple of years. And then we're like, by the way, we're going to let you go. So, it's a nice soft landing after that. We're like, well, at least I get to sleep in,
right.
So
did you get a severance at least?
I don't know. I don't remember those details. We can't talk about those things.
He said Andy.
Right.
But well, I do have to ask you, John, like, so you've been, how long have you been out of TV now?
Well, so out of TV, it's been since June.
Yeah.
So
speaking of all things laser, check out Houston Acrylic at houstonacrylic.com for reliable laser tested and laser approved materials.
Made for makers by makers, Houston Acrylic features over 450 styles of acrylic sheets. With over 50 new arrivals being released this month, Houston Acrylic is committed to bringing new and innovative styles to the laser community. My personal favorite is the matte, anything matte, and I feel it's perfect for everything.
Don't forget to save 10% by using our exclusive coupon code TRBP10 at checkout. Get inspired today and visit houstonacrylic.com.
Do it.
Attention all laser owners and crafters. Are you tired of spending hours cutting, painting, and assembling laser products? Look no further than Crazy Laser Dad Laser Ready Blanks.
Their high-quality blanks are expertly sourced, tested, and ready to use with your lasers. Say goodbye to the hassle and frustration of time-consuming projects and hello to more time creating and selling.
Plus, with their wide selection of items, you'll surely find the perfect blank for all your customers.
So, what are you waiting for? Visit crazylaserdad.com today and take your laser crafting to the next level with their laser-ready blanks.
So I've been out like since I got laid off at the very end of 2019. So starting in like January 2020, I had no job. And like at first I was just petrified, and I'd worked in TV news for 17 years. And then like the longer I got away from it, the more I realized like just how hard of a job that is.
Yeah.
And like moving in, like I'm so much happier now. I'm so much calmer, and
I mean, those reasons are why he got out. Because it was so, the opposite of, you 2 a.m. to 10 a.m. or whatever, your horrible shift was. Because he did that. He did the shift of where he would go in literally at midnight.
Well, that
and
was
like,
because that was because, and not like blaming Greg, actually thanking him, because he gave me my shot to be a photojournalist.
Yeah.
And with that came, hey, I'm opening up, we're thinking of opening up the spot from midnight to, I think it was 7 or 8 or something like that in the morning.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Just as like, to cover anything that's going on. And, I wanted to be a photo, so I'm like, this is my chance.
Well, but then eventually it was him working, he'd go in around 2 and he'd get home around midnight, depending on how far away the story was that he was assigned
here in Florida, 2 p.m.
In Florida. And so he was gone 5 nights a week. And with, it was okay with one kid. And then we had a second kid. And so then it was a baby. And then our oldest was having some behavioral issues. And I was like, I literally told him several times I got to the point, and like he had to come home either on his lunch hour or like if they weren't busy on like a call or, a story or whatever. And, I was like inches away from like a mental breakdown. And I'm like, I can't do this. Like, I know I was far from a single mom. Like, I have to stress that, because like
but it felt like it when I was at work.
Exactly. You would do so much before he went to work. Like he would cook dinner before he went to work, so that when I got home picking up the kids from school and daycare, that I didn't have to worry about like cooking something. I could just heat up whatever he had cooked earlier. And then, I got them to bed and whatever. But so he did everything he could to make it as seamless as possible, as much as he could. But it still was like, okay, I I didn't sign up. I didn't think I was signing up for, on my own 5 nights a week. And I was just like, I can't do this anymore. And then COVID happened and screwed up any chance of him ever feeling like getting dayside.
Right.
And I mean, I think still the people who were like in your position at your last station, they're not on dayside now either, are they?
I haven't
that of.
Going by their Facebook and Instagram pages. No, they're still working the same shifts.
And so it was like there was initially an end in sight, because before COVID there was a lot of people who were close to retirement, and we could get some kind of normalcy with the day shift. And then it was, when you're reporting on stuff in South Florida, it was shootings and all of these, going to the MLK rallies, and there would be fights that were breaking out. And it was nerve wracking for me, knowing you were going to the presidential rallies, and people would get super irate and passionate. And I'm like, and then again during COVID, it was everyone stay home. Oh, except you go out there. There's a big party on New Year's Eve where there's a lot of COVID. You should go, and then you're gonna get it.
Hey, there's a big snowstorm coming. You shouldn't be out here.
Too in Colorado.
Shouldn't be out here.
Right.
Where I'm at, here,
where I'm standing,
with that $800,000 truck that a Floridian is driving.
Right.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah.
What was it? You and Jim Hooley that got stuck in the snow, and you were you kept calling me over and over. You're like, we've been out here since 4. I'm like,
no,
there's not a tow truck in the world. It was
Hooley. No, Hooley kept calling you because he wanted you guys. So he wanted you guys to, and she was home pregnant. He wanted you guys to force me to turn around and put us up in a hotel. And I was like, we were on I-70 stuck with the truckers. Luckily, the sheriff's.
You got stuck twice. Once your van got stuck on an off ramp.
Oh yeah, I don't want to talk about that because he got mad at me.
Oh,
Because I had to abandon that one. They came and picked me up, and that was a whole fiasco. As a matter of fact, we were no longer to park on that off ramp anymore after my little thing. Also,
this is why I moved you to the midnight shift, Jeff.
Also with Hooley. That was also with Hooley. Because that was his favorite spot.
I remember it was a freaking avalanche.
Yeah, it was
shut down the highway.
It was an accident because it was one of those mitigation where they were blowing off charges, and then the snow had gone off to the road. And then the officers let us stay on so they were turning all cars around. Yeah. They only left the semis on the side.
Yeah.
And since we were in a news vehicle, they left us there.
Right.
Because we're like, oh, we're reporting on this.
Right.
And they let us stay there.
Yeah.
And my plan was, I'm coming home. So once they clear this out, we're going home. And he was like, let's just hunker down for that. I'm like, no, because I am not. I've been up since 12. I am not going to sit here and do hits for the night team.
Right.
And I am not going to wake up early in the morning.
Because that's the other thing too is when you stay, it's not like you're off and you go chill and hang out in your hotel room.
They're going to keep us do yeah. And I had every intention to turn my camera on to drain the battery to be like, my batteries are dead. I can't do anything.
Yeah.
So the cool thing about TV news is you work horrible shifts. It's a 24-hour, business. You're out in blizzards or hurricanes or whatnot, but they don't pay you anything. So that's the added bonus is the very low pay, So you get just to get abused for years and years and years. And then,
and then when you're out in said hurricanes and blizzards and stuff, you hear and see pictures on Instagram of everyone back at the station having a pizza party, having food delivery, having all this and that in the nice, warm, dry studio. And you're outside. Everything is closed. There's no food.
Yeah.
You're cold.
I remember when
it's
Roy,
it's fun.
When Roy was I don't know if they were in the Bahamas or if they were here. I think it was Bahamas, but they were working, round the clock around with the hurricane, and they had to go to a gas station, and he was able to get some crackers and chips or something, and the last bottle of water that was there. And I'm like, oh my God. So, I mean, it was all of that. It was then the low pay too. We were struggling, and it's like, you know what? We can struggle on our own.
At Home Depot. Yeah. See, I was trying to help you all back in the day, John. I was like, just stay here. You'll be fine.
Yeah. So yes, I am a lot happier outside of news.
Yeah.
Me
too. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But like when you're in
time.
it, the adrenaline's great. You know, you really, the people that are in it really love it and work really hard at it. And, you know, they don't like it when people yell at them because they're news or whatever, but you know, they're trying really hard. And then like you get out of it and you realize like, holy cow, why did I just work 812 hours this week? You know, and, and like you work a regular job and like, this is fast paced. Are you ready for it? I'm like, yeah, when does that start? And like, this is fast paced. I'm like, oh, you mean so not like doing a live show where all the live shots go down and there's no, you know, like all the video servers break and I've got to find a way to get an hour of news on live to hundreds of thousands of people. Oh, so that's your fast pace is like the copier is going and, you know, it's double collating today. So, you know, like it's just, it's a whole different world when you get out of it. And like, I'm glad I did it. And I think you're glad you did it.
Yeah.
You learned a lot and like, it built better people, but at the same time, like, man, we're getting old now. It hurts.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah. And that was like, you know, he kept going to his boss here and was like, hey, you know, Dayside. Hey, how about Dayside? And you know, his boss, you know, kept telling him, it took me how many years? He just kept saying, and he loves his boss. Like no knock to that boss, but the old boss. Right. But he's like, you know, it took me 20 years to get Dayside and all that. And he was like, I don't have 20 years of time. Like, you know, when your kids are that young, you miss so much.
Right. So quickly.
Yeah. And he was, you know, saying goodnight through FaceTime. And like it goes so fast, and like, you know, he would come home sometimes for dinner if it was on a story that was close, and that was the other
try
part.
To be without a reporter so that I could just sneak away and come home. Welcome to the revolution in laser engraving. Introducing Lens Digital, the creators of the game-changing Pyburn rotary attachment. With the Pyburn 4.0, you can turn ordinary cups, tumblers, glasses, and more into extraordinary masterpieces.
Looking to engrave niche items or want the functionality of a Chuck rotary? Look no further than the Pyburn Grip, Lens Digital's Chuck-style rotary. With a range of different sized jaws, you can easily engrave a wide variety of items. All Lens Digital products are compatible with most CO2 and Galvo lasers and were designed specifically for the laser industry. All that, paired with the best-in-class customer support, Lens Digital is your one-stop shop for all of your rotary needs.
Transform your laser engraving game with Lens Digital, where makers succeed. Unleash your creativity today.
And don't forget, we are proud Lens Digital affiliates as well. If you're shopping, code RileyBlack will take $50 off any order of $600 or more.
Hey there, podcast listeners. How great would it feel if this was the year you finally got to escape your 9-to-5 to embrace your lifestyle of creativity and entrepreneurship?
Every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern, Eon Laser USA invites you to join the Freedom to Create webinar, where you'll learn how to make this a reality.
Join leading laser industry professional and brand ambassador Emily, aka That Mom with a Laser, and Eon Laser USA's sales manager Alicia as they dive into all things Eon.
Learn about the advantages of owning an Eon laser and get the scoop on Eon's rewards and partner benefits. Plus, get a glimpse at how everyday people who started out with zero experience paid off their lasers, scaled their businesses, and transformed their lifestyles.
So if you're ready for a lifestyle change, head over to eonlaser.us/whyus and sign up for the Freedom to Create webinar today.
Thanks for listening. Laser on. And then it would kind of suck because then it probably means he's on a story that's close, that's like a block away or 2 blocks away that was a shooting. And then
those were great nights because I got home like that. I got home super quick.
But then, you know, then you'd leave, and then now I have to deal with the kids who are sad because daddy left.
Right. And amped up because they just saw me and I left. Yeah.
And then, you know, JR was always like, when's daddy coming home? Is daddy coming home today? Is that it's so like it killed me. And it's like, listen, you're not the only one who wants him here. Like, I want him here too. I want the help. But yeah, and I mean, you loved, you know, the people you worked with, you know, there's always one that drove you crazy.
Yeah, there's
that was me. I was the one that drove John crazy.
I don't think so. He never really bitched about you.
No, there wasn't anyone that drove me crazy. So there were a few people who had like bad attitudes, but I didn't like work with them on a regular basis.
Or
but
like,
when
and people
I would
had
see
like
them,
different reporters had like different quirks and stuff.
All
like,
reporters, they all have. I mean, it's like everybody's different.
Yeah,
you're not gonna vibe with everyone the same way.
For sure.
But no, there wasn't anyone. I always said that if I could take the Fox station in Colorado and move it to Florida, it would be the perfect situation.
Yeah.
just take everybody and all the relationships and just be in Florida where it doesn't snow.
Right.
It would have been it would have been perfect scenario for me.
But we all love the snow out here.
We don't miss it. I'm a Colorado native, and I don't miss it at all.
So happy she doesn't miss it.
So much so that we used to go back and visit in December to try and be around Christmas and stuff. We're not doing that anymore.
No. Her decision, not mine, which is great. It's perfect.
Yeah, it was kind of mutual. I mean, so the last time, so 2 times before, we ended up basically getting stranded by a snowstorm. We got on our Denver plane almost. The pilots were literally out there in their pilot's uniform loading the plane with luggage because there wasn't enough people to do so. And then we missed our connection in Atlanta. So then we had to stay overnight with no bags and 2 small kids in Atlanta. So that was a good time, thanks to Colorado snow. So yeah, and I went by myself in March, and a huge snowstorm came in literally the day after I left and shut down the airport for a little bit as well. So I don't miss that. I don't miss how snow affected travel. That's what I hated the most about it, because we lived in deep Centennial, and I worked in downtown Denver. So I drove, it was 45 minutes on a good day with no accident or traffic. So you add in snow into that, and now it's 2 hours into work and 2 hours home. When I worked 10-hour shifts, I think 9 or I don't remember.
Yeah, so you could
980. So I did 9-hour shifts. Yeah. But no thank you.
No fun.
So what do you do now?
How did you get into the trails?
So I never, I lived out in Colorado. It's a very active place, but I was kind of a workaholic. I was always there at the station, and I never really left. And then I got laid off, and it was 2020. So like I said, January of 2020, and I don't have a job. I'm like, well, I'm excited. I'm going to change my life and change my career, and started taking online classes, and then pandemic hits, and I'm like, oh, now what do I do? So I'm like, okay, well, all the jobs just disappeared, and I know news and I know TV media and stuff like that, but everybody is looking for the new media. And I live downtown Denver in this tiny apartment, which is great because I can walk to everywhere. But when everything shut down, I'm just stuck in these tiny 4 walls. And I was like, okay, well, I've never hiked before. I might as well go do it. So I went out and I hit the trails, and I was like, the first one, I was like, this is crazy. And the second one, I go out and I'm thinking to myself, I have to start learning the new media. I can't figure out what am I going to do to learn websites and social media and all that stuff, because that'll help my media background. And I'm exhausted on this tiny little trail with this tiny little incline. And I'm sitting on this log, and these 2 kids come by. They're probably 8 and 11 or something like that. And I'm geared up, and I'm just dying. And these kids are wearing flip-flops or Crocs, and they've got Capri Suns, and they're just jogging up this trail that I thought was a Mount Everest trail. And it was really nothing at all. And I'm just breathing hard. And I think to myself, man, I'm just a fat man on this little trail looking at these kids. Nice. And I'm like, that's a good name. So I text my cousin, and I was like, hey, is this a good name for a website? She's like, absolutely. So that day I went home and I started a website in my Instagram of Fatman Little Trail. And I started just hiking and then finding locally owned restaurants that were open. So I would write a review of the hiking trail and then go to the locally owned restaurant and write a review of the locally owned restaurants, because it's you should support the local places, which if you're gonna go have fun in the mountains, then go to the small place, the mom and pop place, and support them as well.
Well, and they live on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and back then it was pandemic time, so half of they were closed, or you could only get pickup if they threw it past your speeding car and you caught it. I mean, it was just crazy rules on everything, and every town was different, every county was different. So it started as just trying to find a way to let people know what was open, and then it turned into this whole thing where now I go to these restaurants and people are like, hey, aren't you that fat man guy? Which is kind of cool. But then they're all like, here's a triple bacon. I'm like, oh God, which is why I've hiked so much, but I still haven't I've actually gained weight, because I'm like, oh, 2-mile hike. And what's your special? They're like, triple bacon, heart stopper. I'm like, bring it.
I'll take it.
Gotta do, maybe bring 2, But yeah, it really hadn't kind of blown up. I did the website. I love writing. And I've had a couple of, like, my first blog was called Screw It, I'm Trying. And it was
Nice.
kind of like the 5 stages of grief, but for hikers. So it was like, acceptance was when you finally realize that you're really tired and like you're exhausted.
Yeah.
And like bargaining was, you know, dear Jesus, Buddha, Gaia, that little those little elves that live in the trees and make cookies. I'll do anything if you just make the uphill stop, you know?
Right.
So I wrote this blog and it kind of took off. And then I realized, like, okay, this is kind of fun. And I hated seeing myself. So like, I didn't put any pictures on Instagram or anything. I took pictures of nature and posted those for like 2 years. And then I finally started working with some brands and they were like, hey, we want to see, we just sent you a t-shirt to try out. We want to see it. So I started posting like some selfies. And then just like in the last year, people were like, all my friends that like were kind of Instagram friends with me all started blowing up on Reels. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm better than you. So let me do this. That wasn't really it. But really, it was like they were all blowing up. And I'm like, I guess I have to do this. So I just started like saying, you know, whatever was on my mind. With the Reels, and like it's gone from like me doing like I started trying to do like hikes where like I was like, look at me, I'm hiking to the top of this mountain. Nobody cared. And then I started doing like funny jokes and like little like relatable moments in life, you know, like breathing hard and trying to hike, and people love that stuff. So I realized like it's about me, it's about my journey, and like you know, I'll just tell people what's really going on in my head as I'm on this 12-mile hike, you know?
Yeah. Being real is honestly being real and genuine is what attracts people to it in the first place. If you're trying to be funny, or you're trying to come up with a joke, or, you know, you're just, like just being authentically you is what we get a lot, you know, about like just being real. When shit sucks, we say shit sucks. And, you know, because it's other people relate to that. You know, we all show our highlight reel, you know, not really on purpose, but it's just kind of how it is. Like we were talking the other day, you know, when you're not busy, a lot of times you're posting a lot because you're not busy. And then when you're busy, you're not posting a lot. So then when people go to your page, they see you haven't really posted and it looks like you're not doing anything. And it's quite the opposite. But you like, and when we've been at our like lowest or struggling, I'll get all these messages and stuff from friends that are like, oh my God, you guys are killing it. I'm like, no, we aren't. We're not killing it. So, you know, being real is what people relate to.
And the funny thing is the internet is inherently fake. Like you said, everybody's posting highlight reels and people are like using filters and all that. And I'm like, nope, no filters. I'm not, you know, like, all of my stuff 100% real? Absolutely not. I exaggerate some of it for effect. But at the same time, like when I'm breathing hard trying to hike up a hill, that's me breathing hard. I'm not doing that for comedy. That's I'm a fat dude and I'm trying to hike uphill. Like, yes, like there's no air out here. So yes, I am breathing hard.
Oh my God, yeah.
But like, you know, like you said, it's about being real, and like not everybody is an Olympic athlete who can run to the top of a mountain in 10 minutes. Some of us, it's going to take us a while. And when you're out hiking by yourself, you don't have much to think about. So you just think about, you know, whatever's on my brain. I just, you know, I have no filter. So I just spew it on Instagram, and I apologize for that, but people seem to like it. So
I love it. It's hilarious. You got me as a follower for sure, especially after the no chocolate and all the joy was gone from your face. Like I feel you, especially trying to like diet and trying to get our health together lately. And then, you know, I like cut out this, cut out that. We cut out like late night snacks, and like the scale's like, cool, you gained a pound or two. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck you. So the joy 100%. Is gone. And so is my bread. Like,
well, and that was, I was walking out of like physical therapy, and I was walking like to my car, and I realized like I used to have a piece of candy after physical therapy, and I was like, oh, I don't have any candy. You can tell because I'm not happy. Like, and I just realized, you know, I'm like, oh, I should say that. And I said it, and I didn't think anything of it. Cause it's one of those posts that I didn't think was going to really do anything. And I posted it, and it was like 10,000 views, and then like 100,000 views, and then like 500. And I was like, what is happening? And like the next thing I know, like I woke up the next morning and it had like 1 million something views in like a day. And I was like, oh, this is going to blow up. Cause I've had a few of them go like, the first viral video I ever had was I pulled into this tiny motel, and I was like, I don't even remember, Pagosa Springs, in this tiny motel. And I'm like, I walk through it, and there's a shower curtain with a moose wearing sunglasses on it. And so I just like walked through with the camera and like, it was like, when you're in a great motel, and I was like going through, and it went, and I showed the moose at the end, and it went viral like 3 different times, because the first one was because of the moose. And then it was the moose in Europe, and all of a sudden all these Europeans started liking it. And then somebody noticed that there was a cobweb on the lamp. So it went viral again because people started commenting on a cobweb on the lamp. And like, I felt bad for the motel at that point, because I tagged them thinking like, hey, this is blowing up. You should like that. And then somebody talked about the cobweb, and I'm just like, oh man. But it ended up getting like 4.5 million views or something like that. And I'm like, that's when I realized like that part of the internet is fake. Like a moose on a shower curtain has just gotten 4 million people to watch it. Like, this makes no sense.
Well, and we're all pretty simple creatures if you think about it. Like, the dumbest shit will make me laugh. So, and it's almost like people try so hard too. So like, when you're just, I guess authentically being whatever, like, those are the ones that seem to be the funniest. But one you posted, I think it was actually just a little bit ago today, there was some comment from like a cater, I guess, whatever. But how have you dealt with that? Have you had a lot of those comments, or do you just not pay attention to them? Or
I actually haven't had, like, I've been pretty lucky. I think because my name is Fatman Little Trail, like, they know I'm making like, like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna make fun of the guy that calls himself fat? Like, all right, knock yourselves out, like, so I don't really pay much attention to them. But it like made me laugh, because this video I posted had, I don't know if, whenever we're recording this, it has like 350,000 views, and it's got like, 10,000 likes and like 1,000 comments, and all the comments are like, you're great, you're hilarious, this is funny, And then one guy who's like, he's like, you're insufferable, there's, you're not funny, do something different with your life. And I'm like, bro, I'm just telling a story. Like, I'm not here for you, like, there's a lot of people that like this. So I ignore it. It's always the people that like have no profile picture and have 5 followers, and their name is John 74421483129. Like, so they're not real. So like, they're not real. And but I do feel bad, because like, I don't get a ton of it, but I have like a lot of friends on Instagram, and especially the women. Like, people are so mean to women on the internet.
They really are,
and it's horrendous. And like,
it is.
Whether like, I have a friend she's a plus size model, and they just tear her apart on her physical looks and stuff. Yeah. And then I have a friend who's like a like really attractive, good looking, and they tear her apart too. And I'm like, I'm like, it doesn't matter.
I saw one the other day where she was literally just like posing for a picture at like a hockey game, and it was going viral because of all the hate comments in on the video of like people calling her a man, or how long does it take you to pose for a picture, and like all of these like super gross things. And I'm like, why? She's posing for a picture like at a hockey game, like just living her life, and everyone's like attacking her. And I'm honestly surprised we don't get more hate for us, but we like, for how we are, because we're obviously plus size and plump as well. But like, thankfully, I think for us, it's mostly our industry who watches us. It's not a lot of the like gross public, but we actually had one, which we talked about on the show briefly before, on our podcast. No, it wasn't. Well, we talked about it on the podcast, but it was your post. It was my video. So it was my first video I ever posted on YouTube. And if anyone knows, if you ever start a channel or an Instagram or your Facebook, you go back to the first post you ever posted however many years ago, 100% it's terrible, especially if you compare it to anything you've posted recently or whatever. And so they posted, we had literally just finished 2 or 3 days at a podcast conference that we were going to, and we were on like cloud 9 because we got all this wonderful feedback. We were on like the right track. A lot of people that we were going there were like brand new and didn't have a lot of like downloads or traction or whatever. And so it was like, oh, like we're doing something right. And then we're literally sitting in the car waiting to pick up dinner on the last day. I'm so exhausted. I had been like trying not to get sick the whole time we were there, and it was starting to like hit me because I like let down my guard. And the comment was like, oh God, please give up. Like, give up. And I was like, fuck fuck you. Like,
Right.
it bothered me so much. And I hated that it bothered me because I knew, again, it's some 50-year-old guy in his mom's basement who, isn't doing anything with his life. And right. And like, if you watched that video from however many years ago, like, I mean, that's your fault.
Years ago.
Like,
right. Well, and I think you get a lot too, or at least I get a lot, where people are like, what is it about you're short and you're fat and you're not funny, you're just telling things, you're not showing anything cool, like how dare you do this on the internet? And I'm like, well, why not, bro? Like like people
see for watching.
Yeah, people like it. And I think a lot of them it's I don't know, it's probably not all jealousy, but I think some of it's jealousy where they're like, I could do that better than you. I'm like, well, then do it. Like I'm not stopping you from doing anything. Like I'm doing my own thing in my own little corner, and that's all I care about. And if you want to go do it, then go do it. And I hope you have 70,000 followers like I do. Like, but just go do it. Don't bother me about it. Like I'm not going to go bother you and be like, haha, I told you your joke would be bad. Like that's not my place to say,
Yeah.
I'm just putting it out there. Some people like it, some people don't.
Exactly. I mean, how many times do we scroll past something and we're like, wasn't really funny, or like it's just not funny to you for whatever reason, and you know what I keep doing?
Just
scrolling.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel like, oh, I must tell them that this didn't tickle my fancy. Like okay.
If somebody like sits there and watches your entire video and then they open up the comment bar and start sending a comment, the video is playing in the background, so it's probably scrolled like a second or third time. And I just imagine like they're getting so mad, like I told you this was bad, and it just keeps playing in my ears while I'm trying to write this comment. Like, how dare you? I'm like, dude, just like literally, all you have to do is swipe.
Well, and that's what I like about those ones. Like, even if you're doing it and you're like really crying on the other side of the phone, but you like comment, the things of thank you so much for the engagement. Like those are the best, because it really is like the girl who was getting all these hate comments. She was responding to most of them like that. Like, I don't know what I did so bad to hurt you today, but thank you so much for the engagement, and like just kept going.
It's a fad, because one of the podcasts I listened to, they found a girl who's overweight, but her whole channel is her love to coffee. How she's a barista, she makes coffee, she loves coffee and everything like that. And her whole thing is about coffee. It's not even about her necessarily. Yeah. All the comments, hate from Pittsburgh, hate from whatever. Like they literally say, you should kill yourself, hate from Pittsburgh. Like, oh my God. It's like you're fat, and she's like, but it's not about, it's about coffee. My posts are about. Okay. So she doesn't like listen to it, but she's blowing up on the hate side. Yeah. From all the hate. And then they found another one where it's some dude doing like kind of documenting his workout routine as he goes through and as he learns and grows and stuff like that. Same thing. It's just a bunch of hate, and I guess his is a little more about his physique, because he's like documenting his journey. Right. But it's like, why just keep going?
Yeah, that's unfortunately that's just how what they like the world is right now. I mean, that documentary on Facebook or whatever, they showed how the controversial and hated like posts had the most engagement.
Oh yeah,
and it would almost like suggest it more, and it just like would end up, like, sure, the wholesome ones, they're great, but they didn't get get things going. They weren't getting all these the likes and
It very well. Touché. I mean, it very much is, because like that whole adage of if it bleeds, it leads. We could show rainbows every single day on news. We could tell good stories. We could tell life-changing moments and things, but nobody watches it. But if
you only
start
did when
talking
there was
about
no bleeding.
No, you do that
exactly
at the end of the show.
You do it at the end of the show as a throwaway. But otherwise it's like, I want to see death, I want to see destruction, I want to see carnage, I want to be angry. But it also goes back to like, the Howard Stern in the 80s, where like the people who liked him watched him for an hour, the people who hated him watched him or listened to him for 4 hours, because that was just like the way, like people just, I think a lot of them consume media to be angry about it, I mean, but you get it, like look at the Marvel movies. They're making $1 billion and people are still on the internet like, this is a dumb movie. How could you put a woman in charge? Like, cool. Like, really, that's what you're doing with yourself right now? Is you're typing an angry letter to a corporation that doesn't really care and just cashed $1 billion check. That's fine, But
we'll change it in the next one. Watch.
Yeah, exactly. We'll change it up for you, no problem. But like with mine, I try to bring as much positivity as I can. I've been excited because I get notes and like I get maybe one bad comment per post, and the rest of them are so nice. Or my favorite ones are the ones that said, hey, like, you seriously inspired me to go from my couch and go out and walk in the park or go out and onto the trail. And I have people email me that. I have people message me that. So it's really easy for me to ignore the stuff that is bad because of what I get there. Because I'm like, look, man, you had a bad day. You sent me a nasty message. I don't care because this person literally got off their couch and started hiking because they saw something I did and their life is better now. Like you're still going to complain about something 5 years from now. Don't care. Nobody cares. But this person's their life is better now because they saw something I did and it accidentally inspired them to go and do something that helped them become better at their life. And like, so for me, like, sure, you can bring on the hate, but for me, 100%, it's all about inspiring or just like, I have people hit me up like on that post that went 8.2 and they were like, I had a horrible day. I saw this and I laughed out loud. I literally laughed out loud at my office. And they're like, and that just made my day. And I'm like, well, good. That's what I wanted to do. I just want to cheer you up for my videos are like 10 to 15 to 30 seconds. I just want to cheer you up for those 30 seconds. My response, I don't know if it's out now, but my response to that one hater that I said, I just turned it into a joke and I quoted Shakespeare and I was like, okay, well, the internet wants, I thought it was to be, reach out to as many people as possible. But apparently I only have to reach out to the one person who's mad about this. So he said, I'm not funny. So to be or not to be, that is the question, and I like did like the first 3 lines of that speech. And I'm like, okay, fine. You don't think I'm funny? Here's drama. And now I'm going to move on and I don't care. Like, we're all going to move on from this, it's not a big deal. So.
It's true though. Cause we've gotten like the few people who have quit their job after listening to our podcast and then went and did laser stuff, full time. And the people who listen to us while working, and like that time when we did a poll of if we should take a couple weeks off and they were like, no. And it was like, oh, okay, well, I'm glad that you love us, but can we take a break, please? But
isn't that an amazing feeling? Like having people that you don't really know that they just listen to you and they're like, they're waiting for you to post something and like, you don't think about it. And then somebody's like,
it's
hey,
crazy to me. Yeah.
Have you ever gotten the message like you haven't posted in a few days? Like, everything
I've
okay?
Gotten like especially early on, Amanda would text us on Fridays and be like, where's it? Because we didn't then, especially in the beginning, we didn't have like a set time we were going to have it up. And also with podcasts, even more, you don't really. You have no idea who's listening and how long they're listening. And like, unless someone tells you I'm a regular listener, you kind of don't even know you have regular listeners. Like, sure, we have downloads and sure we have like whatever, and people give us shout outs and stuff, and that kind of like validates it. But like, they're almost like invisible support. We don't know that they're there. And so, when we would get the text every once in a while on Fridays and be like, hey, I was looking for the podcast, I don't see it. And it's like, oh shit, people are actually like waiting for us to post this. And like, how are you? And like, when we were going through it, with our son, and we did a podcast, because we're so real to the point it's hard when things are tough in our personal lives to not share it, because I wear my heart on my sleeve. If shit sucks in life, like, sure, I can push through, but for the most part, like, you're probably going to know something's going on. And so, we try and talk about it, and that, like, I hadn't really talked about it. And then it was towards the end of the year, and I kind of was like, just did an episode on like mental health and dealing with children and all that stuff. And, about how fucking hard everything was. And I can't tell you how many people messaged me and were like, I was there too with my son. You know, read this book or say this when you go to your appointments, or, you know, like, I'm here if you need someone to talk to. And it was just the amount of support we got from that episode was like, holy crap. We really have like a tribe out there. We have people who pay attention to, you know, what we're doing, who are rooting us on and really want to support us. And yeah, it's pretty crazy once you get to that point, you know, and like, I had like a fangirl experience, you know, I ran into someone on a plane and I was like, wait, what? Like, it doesn't feel real. Like, how could, like, I'm a hot mess. What do you mean you like look up to me or you watch my videos or whatever? So yeah, it's pretty cool.
And that's the positivity I hopefully I bring. Like, I don't take anything too seriously, and like you said, I don't try to listen to anybody who's got the negative stuff. They'll come on, they'll leave a comment, whatever. But like, it's the people that you inspire. You're basically, you don't realize it, but you're the modern day paperboy, where like you're giving them information to their door every single day. And if you miss it one day, they're like, hey, where's the paperboy? You know, otherwise they don't really think about the paperboy, but like, they want the information from that. They want your information. They're accustomed to getting it every single, you know, week or whatever it is. And then all of a sudden, like, it's gone one day. They're like, wait a minute, I can't live without these people, you know? And that's, and like, you've become silently a part of their lives. And that's kind of a cool feeling. And it's a big responsibility too. Because,
it is,
you know, if you start, you know, I did one where, there was a cow sitting in the middle of the road and they would not leave the middle of the road. And I was just sitting there like in my car and I'm like, leave the road. So I took a video of it. And then, you know, that song, like, move, bitch, get out the way. So I played that song on it and somebody was like, I think you're really funny, but that was totally inappropriate. And I was like, you know what? You're right. You know, like, that's not something that I typically would do. I don't swear I don't swear on my Instagram. I don't, you know, swear on anything. And I'm like, that was unexpected for me to do something. Like, I'm part of their lives, and like I've stepped over a boundary, and I need to step back from that. And, you know, because like, you are like literally become like a little bit of, they think they know you, and like you said, you don't know who they are, but you're somehow inspiring them, or you're, you know, they're coming back to listen, and you have to respect that, and like, you know, not do something like that they find inappropriate. So yeah, it's an interesting world that we've become into.
Yeah, well, and I struggle because we have kind of both listeners, you know, like we had kind of told you on the pre-show that like cursing is allowed and all that. And I did that because, like, again, I want to be true to me and who I am. Like, I curse, it happens. I try not to make, you know, the fuck every other word or, you know, whatever, but like, it fits, you know, and I want to be able to say it and not have to like come up with a, you know, an alternative or whatever. And then I remember one of our listeners actually said that she like couldn't listen to one of our episodes around her daughter because her daughter kept being like, Mom, what's that? And so we would joke, because then later on we had actually like someone's kid on our show who had like, you know, used the laser and like did some stuff for some fundraising or whatever. And I jokingly like tagged that listener and was like, hey, you can listen to this one with your daughter, because there's no cursing and stuff. And like, and I make some inappropriate projects and files, and a lot of people who follow know that. But I also, one of my best-selling designs is like about church, and you know, so it's like, because someone asked for it, so I made it, and then I just put it up, and like people still buy it to this day. And so I have both, so I have to like kind of teeter that line of like being true to me, but also like allowing other people to listen and not like make it all about curse words and peens.
and just like when you said you went back and looked at your first video ever versus your video now, like, you grow as an artist and you grow as a performer, and like I think we're artists, I guess, like when it comes to like social media, that's kind of like an art form or a performance or something like that. And you grow and you hone that, and you figure out like, okay, where is that line for me? And that line is somewhere different. Like I talk about hiking. like I shouldn't be
Right.
swearing that much talking about hiking. Like
Listen,
I say
if I'm going hiking,
Right.
there's gonna be a lot
That's true.
of cursing.
And I talk about like
That's a lot
swear,
of
like I
heavy
stub my
breathing.
toe. Exactly. Yeah. It's hard to breathe when you're like, "Ah, you stupid," like
Right.
get that. But it's like, you kind of develop that
Yep.
personality, and it's mostly you, but it does get honed a little bit around who you're talking to, because I want people, like I want my nephews to be able to listen to the videos that I put out, and I want the 90-year-old grandmother to be able to listen to the videos that I put out. And it turns out that none of those people listen to it, and it's just like a bunch of random people from the internet. But it's cool,
Right.
But
Random people and your ex-employee's wife.
Yeah,
exactly. But I've become like really good friends with people that I've met through my Instagram.
Same, yeah.
And it's so cool, like, to build those relationships, and then just learn from each other, and we've kind of grown up together. Like, I've known people for 4 years on Instagram that I'm like,
yeah.
Wait,
that you've never met in person,
that
right?
I've never met in person. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I have really close relationships with several people that were so close I actually kind of forget that we haven't met in person, because these are people I share like personal stuff with from time to time, and my friends like in different areas have met them in person, and so like it's kind of like I almost feel like I know them that well, and especially now with like just video everywhere and like FaceTime, and like we've had Cindy, I always mention her because I legit had to really think hard once, like, have I met her in person? And I was like, wait, I haven't. Like, she wasn't at like the conferences and whatever. So it's like, it's crazy that you can have that kind of relationship now. And that,
and also too, like your family back in Colorado, we don't see them all the time,
right?
But through FaceTime and through videos and stuff like that. So people that you have met that you grew up with, you see that way as well. So it kind of blurs.
You see their kids grow up.
It kind of blurs the line, because people who you do know very well in person, you're watching them now like through that same meeting. So like someone who you don't know.
And if you don't post a lot, and then all of a sudden you post, and your kid was...
You're gone.
Well, but like the ones that are crazy to me are when you have small kids and like you post them a lot, and then how quickly they change in those first few years. Like if you don't post for like 6 months and then you post again, they're a whole new kid. There was
a whole different kid.
Yeah, like I saw one like literally like right before the podcast, and she was someone... she was like one of my old roommate's sisters, and she had right before we had left, she had twins, and so obviously right before we had left, those twins, I remember them as babies. Well, she posted them and they're like 6 because she also had them around the same time we had JR.
How years work.
Right.
Yeah.
But she doesn't post a lot.
That's how addition happens.
Yeah.
Fuck you both. Okay. Fuck you both. But like, she doesn't post a lot. So when she posts, it's like, it's been a year since she posted her kids, and now they're huge. And you're like, what?
What happened to the babies?
Right.
Wait, they were cute when they were babies. What happened?
Right. So what all are you doing now besides like social media, or like, obviously as much as you can talk about.
Well, so I have a full-time job, like that's in marketing, and I do like my Monday through Friday full-time job, and then I go out and hike on the weekends, and I'm still doing the Instagram and YouTube and TikTok and what else, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. And then, but what I really enjoy is my website, which is just fatmanlittletrail.com, where I've actually, like, I do lately, it's just been a ton of product reviews because I keep getting sent gear from all these brands that want me to review their product, which has been fun. But I also write some of my fun stuff like Screw It, I'm Trying, or To Pee or Not to Pee, and things like that. Because, like, it's kind of where I can let my personality out and kind of have some fun with it. So I'm still doing all that. And it's more, I feel like I'm more of a hobbyist and creator than an influencer. I'm not going to hit you over the head with I want you to buy something, but like I do my reviews, and I write what I don't like about every product that I review, because one, there's no perfect products out there.
Right.
2, like, people need to know that. Like, I think if it sounds fake when you're like, this pen writes upside down, backwards, forwards, it's like, well, yeah, but the little cap thing always pops off too, but I'm not going to tell you that. Like,
Right.
you got to, again, we go back to like the internet's fake, but you have to be true. Like, I try to stay true with that stuff. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. And trying to get out and I have this crazy goal of trying to hike in every county in Colorado. I don't know if it's going to work because the Eastern Plains, you guys have seen it. There's not a lot out there hiking trail wise, but I'm 42 out of 64 counties in. I'm getting pretty close, and I'm hoping to finish that up this year and do a little bit of camping, which I've been avoiding because I'm old and like I can barely get out of bed. Like, how am I going to get off the ground?
I grew up like camping.
Yeah.
And that was like our vacation that we did. Like, our family vacation was camping. Yeah. And, then it was affordable ish. You didn't have to pay a ton for the campsite, or sometimes you didn't pay anything and you just had to pay for the food that you bring out there, and like you didn't really need like the crazy like air mattresses and all that stuff to like go. Now I'm like, man, all the food you got to bring, like the tents and stuff that you got to bring. Like,
well, it's like the real where you have to spend a mini fortune to live like a homeless person.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but like, I loved it too, because I loved like during the day, it was kind of nice to even then to not have like technology. You were forced not to use your phone because it wouldn't work out there. Yep. And, the hanging out at the campfire and doing like fun games and fun meals and, playing Uno in the middle of the day just because, it's like, oh, this, but but then we're old, and like you sleep on a somewhat hard mattress for 3 days and you can't walk for a week.
Exactly. And now it's so crowded. Like, you need a 2-year, there's like a 2-year wait to get a campsite in places and stuff like that.
That's insane.
But the best part,
COVID.
Seriously. It is slowing down. I will say the outdoors is slowing down a little bit, but I think one thing you said there was perfect, is your cell phone didn't work. Like, that's what I love about hiking is I hike until I have no signal, and then I'm happy.
Nice.
And then like I get a signal again, and like you start getting notifications. I'm like, there it goes.
And then they flood in too, and it's like you think, oh man, people miss me, and it's like, no, you spent this much on Rocket Money this week, and you have all this many. Your friend posted this weird post on Facebook, and it's like they didn't even tag you. Why are you? Why do I care?
Because the algorithm is trying to suck you back in.
It's trying to get you.
It's like all those notifications. Like, I'll wake up in the morning and I'll have like 25 notifications, and usually it's one of them is maybe something that I have to like, tend to. That was like an order or a message or whatever. But most of the time, it's nothing, and they come flooding back in as soon as you have service.
They're mostly from my Instagram. Like, it's just all notifications. Yeah. Watch Greg.
Right. I was wondering if you were going to see my comment actually, and when I commented, you had just posted the video. And I was like, and I saw he was like, you were responding to people still and like, liking comments and stuff. And I was like, I think he'll see this.
I try to get into all of them, even though, like I said, like some of them have had like 10,000 comments, and I'm in there. Right. I'm trying to like respond if I can, but then I fall asleep at some point, and then I get overwhelmed. But.
Well, that's the thing I was meaning to, because I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna do it in the comments or in his I'm going to his Facebook and send him a messenger, because that's like where like we followed each other originally, so that he would see that. And then I just kept kind of not putting it off, but like just forgetting to reach out to him, like
see something funny, shiny and move on.
And be like, oh, funny story, Chris will send me your reel, that was hilarious. Are you sticking to the Colorado trails? Are you doing any like travel hikes?
So I've done like 7 states. So I've hiked in Tennessee, because that's where my parents live, and then I've done around here. I do New Mexico a lot, Utah a lot. I've been to Arizona, Colorado, Wyoming, South Dakota. Is that 7? I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah. But like so like I've been going. I usually take a trip a year to either New Mexico or Utah, and get out there into the desert and do some good hiking. I've decided I like the desert. I don't know why. It's been really. I've had a lot of good time hiking out there, and it's kind of nice. But
horrible.
It's kind of cool though. Like, I don't know.
What do you like about it?
Nobody else
know?
is out there. Yeah, like
well, there's a lot of reasons.
yeah, it's a little flatter. Like, well, Utah has some, like they have the beautiful arches, like the rock formations in southern Utah are
That's
just
true.
amazing.
Yes.
But like I love like northern New Mexico for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's like it's more mesas than mountains. So
right.
like it's not like the really
There's some
steep,
really pretty,
it's really pretty. And the hiking, it's more dusty and more dirty, but it's just kind of, I don't know, it kind of gives you that old West feel. Like you feel like you've settled something and you're discovering it for the first time or something.
Oregon Trail.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like,
by the snake.
I'm waiting for the dysentery to kick in and, trying to figure out like if I'm going to make it, but
right.
Yeah. And there's less I feel like there's like more things that can kill you in the desert, but less bugs. Like there's less mosquitoes and stuff like that. And you've got scorpions and snakes and all that fun stuff. But it doesn't bother me as much as like a little gnat that's flying in my ear the entire hike.
Right. So before you started this, had you ever hiked, or was it like from time to time, or?
Oh yeah, a couple times here and there, type of thing. A friend was like, "Oh, like when I first moved out here, I think I hiked the first 2 weekends in Colorado. I'm like, I'm going to become one of those Colorado people." And then I just like, well, that's enough of that, and let's go to a Rockies game instead, type of thing. But yeah, like I really wasn't a hiker at all. My buddy Scott always laughed at me because he was a big hiking guy and he kind of taught me how to do it. And now I'm like, everybody looks at me and they're like, "Oh, so you're the hiker." And they look at Scott, who's been, born and bred in Colorado forever. And they're like, he's like, "Wait a minute, I taught him how to do all this stuff, didn't even know how to tie his shoes." Exactly. But, like I've done a lot more now probably than him and recently. So yeah, it's been interesting.
It's kind of crazy how life like shifts like that. You find new interests, new passions, especially when going on like a health journey. I like a lot of my Instagram is like people who've lost a ton of weight and are now like, in the gym a lot and whatever. And I kind of like strive to be that person someday because I'd rather have like that addiction than like be struggling, for normal activities.
That's kind
some days.
Of how it starts, especially nowadays. You start following like one or two, or like, like actually seeing their page, and then more get like sent to you, and then you start seeing more and this and that. You're like, what, I'm gonna try this.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, it inspires you. It shows you that. I mean, I literally just told my friend the other day, we're kind of checking in. It was funny because I posted on a story and I was kind of like gauging interest on a new product. And she accidentally like hit the not interested on the poll option and had to like respond and be like, "Oh, that was a mistake. I'm sorry." And I was like, "How dare you?" But we like kind of just checked in with each other. And, I asked her like what she was up to. And that's also when she told me like, "Oh, you guys are killing it." And I'm like, not really. Like things are rough. We have some good days. Today was a good day. But there's also some like a lot of bad days where it's like, some days we get 20 orders or more, and some days we get 1 or 0 or it's all of the above. And so we're just talking about that, and I was asking her about like her job. She's a nanny, and she's been a nanny for a really long time. And she was like, she feels like she's hitting that point where she's kind of done with that field. And, she really loves like baking and doing that kind of stuff. And she was like, I'm just trying to figure out what I want to do. And it's like, it's never too late to kind of figure out what you want to do. It kind of changes with the season of life, like what is going on in your life at the time and what, do you relate to?
Well, and I look at it like if I wouldn't have gotten laid off from my job and there wasn't a worldwide pandemic, like I probably never would have become who I am now. And now I can't think of anything but like I just want to be out hiking, and like the woods have become my happy place. And like I started it and I was like, this is going to really help my physical health. I'm going to get in shape. I'm going to be, but what I realized was like from a mental health standpoint, like getting out into nature and walking for like 5 miles in the woods with nobody around you except birds and squirrels, like all of a sudden, like I'd come out and I was like, wow, I know, like, I'm good. Like,
Yeah.
you spend the first couple miles like with all the thoughts in your head, and you're like, I can't get, like, why is cheese $7.99 a pound? I don't know, like, but then like eventually like it all calms down, and you're just walking in the woods and looking around, and your brain is quiet, and all of a sudden I realize like this is what I like. This is what I enjoy. And I never would have had that if my life went the way that I thought it was going to go, or that it was supposed to go, or, supposed to go. But once you realize like you're kind of forced into that situation, that's when it's easier to make a change, but it's also more important to make a change. And that's what it was for me.
Yeah. Well, how many people have we had on the show that COVID, like, they got laid off during COVID, or the company went, or it was usually like most times during COVID, or COVID kind of started the like itch to really want to get into it, or they started working from home during COVID, but then that allowed them more time to start doing the laser stuff, and then laser stuff took off, and then they do it full time, and now they couldn't see their life any other way. And for you, I mean, it was a trip that you went on alone that I couldn't go on, because that pandemic was like a mini pandemic of Zika in Florida.
That got us down here.
Yeah, and so you went by yourself, and then we started having a conversation, and my job had changed because I really loved who I worked with, but not necessarily what I was doing. And the pay was really nice. So, and I didn't really know what else I wanted to do. It was like, okay, I leave here. What am I going to do for half the money? I'm going to be either the same miserable or more miserable for less money in my bank account. I might as well just stay. And then everyone was laid off, and I was like, okay, things kind of suck now. I don't love everyone I work with. I'm like chanting my salary to myself every day so I don't walk out. I'm doing just enough so I don't get fired. And he was like, what do you think about moving to Florida? And I was like, sure. I just got to finish school first. And he was like, really? So
surprisingly easy.
And then now I can't even picture. I love living in Florida. I love not having snow, but I miss my friends and family. But
that's the biggest thing.
That's really but I couldn't picture it any other way. Even when it sucks,
right? Even on the hard day.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. They say up one mountain and down the next.
Yeah, it really
is.
is.
There's a different view on every side of it. So.
Yeah. So, fatmanlittletrail.com, and are all your handles Fatman Little Trail?
Yes, I do. I do have to warn you that there are a lot of people copying me now. That's the problem when you go viral. So I have a blue check mark on Instagram, but there's about 20 people on TikTok who are copying me. So make sure.
Are they actually like taking your content and like reposting it?
Yeah, it's so weird. So like they use my picture as their profile, and it's like they'll be like,
that's creepy.
Fatman Little Trail, but they'll spell it a little bit differently, and then they'll
like extra letters and stuff. Yep, I've seen.
And they'll copy all of my videos from like Instagram, and they'll post it on there, and I report them, and nothing happens. But so just make sure that it's Fatman Little Trail, all one word. No letters or no numbers or
underscores.
Anything like that. Yeah, it's just one word. So
that's how you know you've made it,
right?
I know.
When other people are trying to be you,
I just wish they would,
stop.
It's kind of annoying. Imitation is the greatest form of flattery, but it's also really
not.
Annoying. Yeah, it's like sending 100 resumes to try to get a job, Jenny. You know how it gets.
I know how it gets.
I had to bring that back full circle.
That was good. That was good.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. Well, be sure to follow Greg at Fatman Little Trail. And thanks for being on the show. If you ever decide to hike a trail in Florida, give me a call.
Yeah.
You guys have gators down there, right?
We do.
Yeah.
And there's actually videos on Instagram of people like hiking with the like gators and trying to pass while there's one on the trail.
They're not like cougars or anything where they come and attack you.
Yeah.
Or mountain lions. They don't attack you. They're just in the middle of the trail, and then that's where the trail. For me, that's where the trail. That's where the sidewalk ends, right there. This is as far as we go today.
Yeah.
We'll try again tomorrow. Let's go back to the car. Other
Yeah.
people decide to walk around.
Yeah.
So
I don't know that we'd go on a trail with you necessarily, but like
I would.
we would hang out. I'll meet you guys
Right.
at the restaurant.
Right,
after.
exactly
Yeah.
at the local restaurant.
Yes.
I do want to start Fatman Little Beaches one of these days.
Oh
So
my God,
Oh.
yes.
I'll get all the free speedos and head down to where
You know, you
guys
better
are
go
at
buy that domain
Yes,
and
you
go
better
piss
go.
on the.
Yeah, you better make that like today.
Yeah.
before Johnny gets it.
Yep.
Yeah,
or whoever wants
Whoever.
to be you.
Fat Man
Yeah.
Little Beaches.
They probably already stole it.
Right.
They've stolen it all.
Well, you hang out there. We'll talk to you a little bit more, and you guys stick around for the life update coming up next. And we are back. I haven't said it for a while, but that was fun.
It was.
It was fun. It was good talking
Yeah.
to Greg. I haven't
How
talked,
was that? Like
I haven't talked to Greg.
You kind of
in-
like
What?
mixed both worlds.
Yeah, mixed
Not really
both
the
worlds.
laser world, but like your
like
past
Colorado
life.
and it was like I was telling you, it was a little weird because like I hadn't talked to him in like
Yeah.
years. If anything, it was like liking each other's posts,
Right.
or saying something was funny like early on
Right,
to
right.
stuff. Because I mean, we all fall victim to it. Like he started that,
Yeah.
like however long ago,
Right.
like years ago, and I followed him at first and was commenting,
Yeah.
and then just things, like I'm sure he slowed down at one point, and
Right.
like it just the algorithm just
just didn't show you his stuff.
show up,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't
Yep.
search and. But I mean, I knew every now and then it would pop up, so I knew he was still doing his trail stuff. But
Yeah.
until you sent it to me, I
so
never,
crazy.
because I don't look at like numbers, and you sent it to me. I'm like, how would it have come up to? Oh, that's how. Because at that time, it was
Millions.
Like at that time, it
Yeah.
was 6 million. a
No,
few
I
days
think it
ago.
was even like 4. It was
So now 8.2. That's
crazy.
crazy. And he's had a
Yeah.
few other ones to go into
Yeah.
like the millions. That's great. That's
Yeah.
great for him. But no, it was great catching up with him
Yeah.
and talking with him. And again, like he said, he's like, I'm sure a lot of guys won't listen to it or whatever
Right.
from the station, but I always knew him
Yeah.
in that light because we had that
Right.
rapport where
Yeah.
I'm sure other people just saw him as the boss and never really
Right.
had a rapport with him.
Yeah.
And I mean, think about,
Right.
when you were
Yep.
working in your bosses, how
Yep.
personal did you guys get? So
Yeah.
no, it was great. It was great. I'm happy for him, and it's great seeing him blowing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how's life?
Well, it's better now that I'm out of bed.
Oh my God.
And I still don't know if it was sciatic pain, if it was
Right.
hip pain, if it
Right.
was a muscle thing,
Pinched nerve.
but my
All we know is it sucked. He was.
back,
Ugh.
like my backside hip area, just the pain. I was like, I was walking with a limp for a while. And then right after I took the test, which I've passed, by the way.
Yes.
Drone
Hold
pilot.
on. We need a little
We're
bit
not.
more.
We're not just gonna.
Before we get into the negative. You were like damn near bedridden for 3 days. Let's talk about how that happened the day after
Yes.
you
Day
passed
after I
on
passed.
the first fucking try.
Yeah, that was
like
that was
so
pretty big
guys.
pain.
He needed a 70. He got a 70.
I got 70.
Like, yes,
Yeah.
a fucking
Thank you.
good
Thank you.
job,
Yeah.
babe. Like,
Yeah, I went in.
Originally, his plan was to do it in May.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
just, things started to get a little bit worse, a little bit quicker.
Well, it's that, and also too. So I set the goal in May, so that it's like, okay, if I start telling people in May,
Right.
Now
They
I
know it's
have-
coming.
Well,
Yeah, well,
and I
yeah.
have to do it. I'm held
Right.
accountable.
Yeah.
So
Because if you see them in June and they ask
Right,
about that drone
right.
license.
So then I'm like, okay, so let me start studying, let
Making
me
it a
start whatever.
priority.
And it's funny
Yeah.
because we had Greg on, and while I was in Denver, they were he
right.
sent me to the DJI workshop in Denver.
Yep.
That's where I fell in love with drones.
Yep.
And then the opportunity came to take the online course
Yeah.
there, and that's where I started. But we moved before I could get anywhere in
Yeah.
with the course and stuff. So.
Sorry,
already-
guys,
I
on
already
these
had-
yawns. This is what happens when we do late night podcast.
I already had some background knowledge and studying
Right.
for it.
Yeah.
So, since May, let me start getting my feet wet
Yeah.
with studying. It started coming back to me quicker,
Yeah.
and I'm like, so I started taking practice tests, and I started
Well, and then we just realized how many people, every time we were meeting people, especially realtors, which is really what he wanted to get into. They're like, cool. Do you have your drone license? Do you do drone stuff? And it was like, not yet. Every time that question was asked, it's like,
and then it was like, okay, so it'll feel better. It's saying no, but I'm planning to take the test in May. I'm planning to take the test next month.
Right.
So I took an online course, ran through that, and then also supplemented that with trusty old YouTube University.
Yeah.
And watched YouTube videos that the course didn't really touch on.
Right.
And then just other people's like, I took it and it seems to be these 3 main things were on the test. So I studied up on those. I made sure I knew those. And then I took practice test after practice test. I was passing them.
Yeah.
And then I felt confident.
Yeah.
And I upped it to, last week and went in. And the test was, I said it on my reel.
Yeah.
The test, there were like 11 questions there that I guessed because it wasn't really the topic it came up, but it wasn't as in depth.
Right.
So it was like, oh wait, I don't really 100% know this. So I had to use like some other knowledge that pertained to it to try to guess it right or whatever. So when I finished it, I was like, ooh, okay, well, if nothing else, I got close.
So when you finished, did the screen tell you?
No.
Or did the lady have to tell you?
I told her I finished. She had to go and then of course the printer wouldn't print.
Oh my God.
So she's like, okay, I have to go print it out there and this and that. And then she left.
So all this build up.
Well, wait, she left and then she told me, she's like, you passed, by the way. And then went and I'm like, thank you for telling me that right away.
Yeah.
So then I got the result and it was a 70 and I'm like, well, that's all I needed.
Right.
So yeah, pretty excited. Because that would have been a whole other $175.
Oh right, which
to take
we
it
didn't
again.
have.
Yeah,
a ton in
still
there
$175
regardless
to take a
if
test.
you have it or not.
That's a lot of money.
Right. Well, and then it was cool. You passed. Okay, now go buy this expensive drone.
Right. Now, what drone do you want? They start at $700.
Right.
Well, so I say that for video quality. Because I'm gonna. It's not a toy to play with.
Right. You actually need it to take good
for
video
work and to play with. So
right.
So it was, but I passed.
Yay.
So
and then the back thing and
so right after that, my back just said, okay, cool, you passed. Now let's go to bed. And I really it was hard to walk, to sit, sit up. I couldn't find.
It was uncomfortable for me to just horrible. See you in that much pain, and we were kind of like separated, like we were quarantined. I can't sit in the bed because then I'm gonna be
then your back
unfortunately laid up with you and not and
I hate being in bed like that long. Like I don't even watch TV in the room.
No, we rarely watch TV in our room.
No, so like I couldn't sit on the couch. Was almost worse.
Yeah,
because there was no I guess lumbar support or whatever.
Whatever you needed for what was going on. Yeah.
And then even sitting in the chair was tough.
Yeah.
There. And then
so
I finally went to urgent care because I couldn't get in before late May into a doctor.
May 23rd.
Yeah. So went to urgent care. They x-rayed my hip. It was fine.
Yep.
The x-ray came back fine. So he's like, it has to be muscular and maybe with the inflammation there, it's pinching down on a nerve or something. Right. So here's some muscle relaxers, anti-inflammatories.
Yeah.
And then 2 days.
It took a couple. I was a little worried because I was hoping these were going to be the magic pills, and then you were.
Oh,
it
I was
almost
expecting
got
the
worse.
next day.
It was almost worse the next day, and I was pretty worried.
That night, that first night of pills when I took them.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Night was the worst.
It was the worst night. It was the worst night.
I was like, if I wake up in the morning. Because I was like, let's let these pills do, maybe
give
overnight.
Them some time, right?
Give them some time. And I took them a while ago, but still, let's let them do their stuff. But I could not find a comfortable position at all. It was just the least painful. Yeah. And that's where I didn't sleep. I really didn't sleep until 4 a.m, where I finally just fell asleep.
Yep.
But then at 6 a.m. that night, I was bracing myself because I had to go to the bathroom. I'm like, this is gonna suck because I had tried before and I gave up.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is gonna suck, but we have to go. So I mustered everything, and it's like it's almost like when you're expecting a step,
right,
and it's like a lot shallow. You're like, oh, so it's like I got up. I'm like, oh wait, this doesn't hurt nearly as bad as what I was anticipating from last night.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, we're getting there, and then so now I'm able to sit here.
Well, and the whole time you were laid up, my back is not the greatest, and I feel like my back is always like it's threatening to go out, like at any point. I'm very careful with what I pick up and what I bending, and I'm very careful with my movements because I'm just like, I know at least, mine was different stuff, but it was weeks for me to get better.
Not this last Eon holiday party, but the one before that.
Oh, yeah.
You bent down for a picture.
Yes. The day of the freaking party, and I was done for weeks. Yeah. And even then, like you said, it wasn't. I at least did get quite a bit of pain relief from sitting down, but I couldn't stand for longer than seconds without it just literally seizing and spreading up my back. So though, while you were down and out, I was doing more of the stuff that you would do. And I'm like, I need to be careful not to hurt myself, because now I'm doing things like I was carrying Jackson more, which you did a lot of. And so I was like, okay, let me put him in the crib and not pull my back out, because the first time I pulled it out, or my back went out on me, was when I was pregnant. And then the second time was when I was either lifting JR out of one of those bouncers. And that's all I did was I bent over, I lifted him out, and again, ruined for weeks. And it was the worst because I remember crying in his room because I had to call my friend to get JR out of the crib because I couldn't get him out of the crib. I didn't know what to do. So, but thankfully, you're better. Yep. I didn't injure myself. Yep. And I don't want to say anything, but we had a good call today. So if you guys, but we have a meeting. Yeah. If you guys could just send some good juju, because we really need it.
And thanks for the good vibes you have been sending.
Yes.
Because you also posted about that.
I have. Yeah.
It went, because of the back, because last week's was just a little bit, for patrons, was a little later.
Yeah. Which, good for you for still getting it out on Friday. I was sure it was going to be Saturday or Sunday, and I was just going to be, happy if we got it out still early before everyone else. But, they also understand we're human and things are going to happen. And, week after week, you get it done, in time. 95% of the time. So they, I figured they would be understanding, but it still sucks. It sucks when you can't do what you do every week and something throws it off. So, just send us all the good vibes. I'm sure all of us could use some of it, but we appreciate it because again, we want to keep doing what we're doing and we really enjoy, what we're doing. So we just need, more money to make it easier to do so. Yeah. We're not begging, you know what I mean? We really just want to comfortably
keep doing what
pay
we're
our
doing
bills and do this job.
Keep that light on. Just keep that light on.
Yeah. And more time with the boys.
Yeah.
So we get that now. Now we just need the other part of it.
Yeah. To keep it going. So, that's the life update.
Yeah.
Follow us on Patreon.
Yep.
Follow Fatman Little Trail.
Yes.
And it's been another great episode of Riley Blackbird. Chris and John.
Bye.
Maybe we're all done.